I used to think setting boundaries meant building walls. That if I said no, I'd disappoint people, push them away, or seem selfish. And let's be real, how many of us have agreed to something we didn't want to do just to keep the peace? Here's the truth. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about loving ourselves enough to let the right people in the right way. The problem? We've been conditioned, especially as women, to believe that saying yes makes us good and saying no makes us difficult. And that guilt, that's just years of people pleasing, whispering, you should be more accommodating. But what if I told you that guilt is often a sign you're doing it right? That boundaries aren't rejection, they're clarity. And clarity is kind. Today, we're going to talk about how to set boundaries without feeling like you need to write an apology letter afterward. 5 simple research-backed shifts that will help you stand your ground with courage and compassion. Let's get into it. A lack of boundaries isn't kindness, it's chaos. When we don't communicate what's okay and what's not, we don't just lose ourselves, we start resenting the people we were trying to please in the first place. Studies show that people who set clear boundaries actually have better relationships, not worse. I remember a time when I thought keeping everyone happy was the goal. Saying yes when I wanted to say no, stretching myself too thin and thinking, well, at least they're not upset with me. But here's what I've learned. When we avoid setting boundaries to keep the peace, it's not real peace. It's a silent war inside ourselves. Because what happens? We start keeping score. I did this for them, but they didn't do that for me. I showed up, but where were they when I needed help? And resentment is like a slow leak. It doesn't burst all at once. It builds quietly until one day you're snapping at someone over something small, and even you don't know why you're so angry. But if you trace it back, it's not about the small thing. It's about all the times you swallowed your own needs instead of expressing them. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about letting them in the right way. And they create a structure where relationships can actually thrive because nobody is operating on unspoken rules and silent expectations. Think about it. If someone repeatedly borrows money from you and never pays it back, but you never say anything, are they the problem? Or is the problem that you haven't set a boundary? We teach people how to treat us, and when we don't, they learn that they can take without giving. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to be rude. Let's clear something up. Boundaries are not mean. Boundaries are clear. And clear is kind. Imagine you're in a relationship, friendship, romantic, family, doesn't matter. And you feel like the other person is taking more than they're giving. Maybe they call only when they need something. Maybe they expect you to drop everything for them, but when you need support, they're nowhere to be found. You start to feel drained, but instead of addressing it, you smile through it. You keep saying yes. You keep showing up until one day you just stop picking up their calls. You start ghosting them, withdrawing, avoiding. Why? Because unclear boundaries create messy endings. Instead of having an honest, clear conversation early on, we bottle it up until we explode, or worse, disappear. But what if early on you had said, hey, I love being here for you, but I need our friendship to feel balanced. I can't always be the one holding space. Or I want to help, but I also need to take care of myself. I can't drop everything, but I can support you in this way. That conversation might feel uncomfortable for a moment, but it would save you from months or years of resentment. And I'll tell you something, people who truly care about you want to know your boundaries. People who get upset when you set them, they were benefiting from you having none. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Most of us weren't raised to set boundaries. We were raised to be polite, agreeable, accommodating. But here's the truth. You can be kind and have boundaries at the same time. In fact, real kindness requires them. Because real kindness comes from a place of authenticity, not obligation. So the next time you feel yourself saying yes out of guilt instead of choice, I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to? Or because I'm afraid of the reaction if I don't? And if the answer is fear, that's your sign that a boundary is needed. Because the relationships that truly matter, they can handle your honesty. That twinge of guilt you feel when you say no, that's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something new. Breaking the habit of over-accommodating feels uncomfortable at first, but discomfort is the price of growth. For so many of us, guilt is the automatic response to setting a boundary. We say no to an event, and suddenly we're picturing the disappointment on their face. We don't answer a call because we're overwhelmed and immediately the guilt creeps in. What if they needed me? What if they think I don't care? It feels heavy, like we've done something wrong. But here's the truth. Guilt doesn't always mean you're doing something bad. Sometimes it just means you're doing something different. Most of us were raised to be good, to be helpful, to be agreeable, to meet other people's expectations. And when we've spent years, maybe decades, prioritizing what other people need over what we need, setting boundaries will feel unnatural at first. It's like putting on a new pair of shoes, uncomfortable, stiff, maybe even painful. But that's not a sign to stop wearing them. It's a sign to keep walking until they fit. There's actually research behind this. Studies show that people pleasers experience more guilt when they set boundaries, not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they have a stronger emotional response to potential disapproval. That's just how our brains have been wired. We've trained ourselves to believe that being liked is more important than being honest about our limits. But let's pause here for a second. Think about someone you deeply respect, someone who knows their worth, who doesn't overextend themselves just to keep people happy. Do you resent them for their boundaries? Probably not. In fact, you likely admire them for it. So why do we think people will be upset when we do the same? It's because guilt is sneaky. It disguises itself as kindness when really it's just fear in a nice outfit. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing people, fear that if we say no, we'll lose our place in their lives. But let's talk about that for a moment. If someone only values you when you say yes to everything, is that real connection or is that convenience? Here's a hard but necessary truth. The people who genuinely care about you will respect your boundaries. The people who don't, they were benefiting from you having none. I once worked with someone who constantly expected me to be available. Middle of dinner with my family, they'd call. Weekend, another email, and I'd answer every time. Why? Because I felt guilty if I didn't. I told myself they need me. They're counting on me. But what I was really doing was teaching them that my time wasn't my own, that they could have access to me whenever they wanted, and I would never say no. The first time I set a boundary, I felt sick. I drafted and deleted the email 5 times. I finally sent it. Something simple like, I'm happy to help, but I won't be available outside work hours moving forward. And guess what? The world didn't end. They adjusted. And the guilt, it didn't last nearly as long as I thought it would. That's the thing. Guilt is temporary, but resentment, that builds. If we don't let ourselves feel the short-term discomfort of guilt, we end up trading it for the long-term weight of exhaustion, frustration, and burnout. So the next time you feel guilty for setting a boundary, I want you to stop and ask yourself, am I feeling guilty because I did something wrong? Or am I feeling guilty because I did something different? And if the answer is different, then keep going. Because the people who truly love you, they don't want your guilt. They want you fully, wholly, and unapologetically yourself. We all have that one person in our life who keeps pushing past our limits. But here's the hard truth. If they keep doing it, it's because we've allowed it. Boundaries are not demands. They are statements of what we will and won't accept. When we enforce them consistently, the right people will respect them and the wrong people will reveal themselves. This is one of those things that's tough to admit because no one wants to feel like they've played a role in their own exhaustion. But the reality is, people learn how to treat us based on what we tolerate. If we repeatedly let something slide, we send a silent message, this is okay with me. And when we finally hit our breaking point, the people around us are often confused because from their perspective, nothing seemed wrong. I've seen this play out in so many ways. A friend who always asks for favors but never returns them. A family member who makes hurtful comments and laughs it off. A boss who expects you to work late without asking if you have the capacity. And the first time it happens, we think that was frustrating, but maybe they didn't realize. The second time, we feel a little annoyed. By the 10th time, we're exhausted and resentful. But instead of setting a boundary, we keep hoping they'll just figure it out, except that's not how it works. Because people don't change when we suffer in silence. They change when we make it clear what is and isn't okay. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean we blame ourselves for other people's behavior. Someone crossing a line is their choice. But reinforcing that line, that's ours. And I know what some of you are thinking, but what if they get upset? What if they don't like my boundary? Well, let me ask you this. Why is their comfort more important than your well-being? Some people will push back. They'll test your boundaries to see if you're serious. And that's where consistency matters. Because a boundary that isn't enforced isn't a boundary, it's just a suggestion. A friend of mine once told me she felt like a doormat in her relationships. She said yes to everything, watching her friends' kids last minute, lending money she didn't have, rearranging her schedule to accommodate everyone else. And when she finally tried setting boundaries, she was met with guilt tripping. But you always help me, I guess I'll just figure it out on my own. And that's when she realized the people who were benefiting from her lack of boundaries weren't happy about the change because they were losing the unfair advantage they had. That's when you have to remind yourself, the right people won't leave because you have boundaries. They'll stay because you do. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They're not about controlling other people. They're about taking responsibility for ourselves. Instead of saying, you can't talk to me like that, we say, if you continue speaking to me that way, I will remove myself from the conversation. Instead of saying, you have to stop asking me for money, we say, I am not in a position to lend money and I won't be able to help in that way. Do you see the difference? One is about trying to force someone to change. The other is about choosing how we respond. So if you've ever wondered, why do people keep crossing my boundaries? Take a step back and ask yourself, have I been consistent in enforcing them? Have I communicated them clearly? Because when we stand firm in our boundaries, we stop feeling powerless in our own lives. And the people who truly care about us, they don't want to take advantage of us. They want to understand how to love us better. Every time we say yes to something we don't want, we are saying no to something we do want. Whether that's our time, our peace, or our priorities, boundaries remind us that we matter too. Research shows that people with strong boundaries report higher self-esteem and lower stress. For years, I struggled with this. I used to say yes automatically without even checking in with myself because I thought that's what good people did. Someone needed help moving? Sure. A colleague wanted me to stay late? No problem. A friend needed emotional support even though I was running on empty? Of course. And then I'd wonder why I felt drained, stretched thin, and if I'm being honest, a little resentful. The turning point for me was when I heard a simple but powerful truth. Every time you say yes to something that's not right for you, you are saying no to something that is. And that hit me hard because I wasn't just overcommitting, I was undercommitting to myself. Think about it. When you say yes to working overtime to please your boss, you're saying no to that quiet evening with your family. When you say yes to making plans out of obligation, you're saying no to rest. When you say yes to everyone else's needs first, you're saying no to your own. And if that stings a little, I get it. Because we've been taught that prioritizing ourselves is selfish. But let's challenge that for a second. Is it selfish to honor your energy? Is it selfish to protect your time? Or is it simply self-respect? We have to start flipping the script. Boundaries are not about rejection. They are about alignment. They help us make decisions that reflect our values instead of reacting to what everyone else wants from us. And here's what's interesting. People who set strong boundaries aren't just happier. They actually have deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Because when we show up from a place of wholeness instead of exhaustion, we connect in a way that is real and sustainable. I worked with someone once who constantly said yes to everything. Extra projects, extra favors, always bending to accommodate others. People praised her for being so dedicated, but behind the scenes, she was miserable, stressed, overworked, and losing sight of the things that actually mattered to her. When she finally started setting boundaries, declining projects that weren't hers to take on, leaving the office on time, she felt guilty at first, but then something amazing happened. The respect she thought she'd lose, she gained it, and the exhaustion she thought was just part of life, it disappeared. That's what happens when we realize that a no to others can be the most important yes to ourselves. But I won't lie to you. It takes practice. The first time you set a boundary, you might second guess yourself. The first time you say no without an excuse, you might feel a little queasy. But with each decision, you're teaching yourself that you are worthy of your own time and energy. And the people who truly care about you, they'll respect that too. So the next time you feel that pull to say yes when you really want to say no, ask yourself, what am I giving up by agreeing to this? Because your time and energy are not unlimited. And the way you spend them should reflect what actually matters to you. Not everyone will like your boundaries. And that's okay. The goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to live in a way that aligns with your values. People who truly respect you will adjust. Those who don't, they were benefiting from you having none. This is the part that trips so many of us up. We finally muster the courage to set a boundary, maybe with a friend who always expects us to drop everything, or a family member who pushes past our comfort zone. And instead of understanding, they push back. Maybe they roll their eyes. Maybe they guilt trip us. Maybe they say something like, wow, you've changed. And suddenly that wave of doubt comes crashing in. We think, did I do something wrong? Am I being too harsh? Should I just let it go? But let's pause here. Because you've changed is not an insult. It's proof of growth. People who are used to us being endlessly available, endlessly accommodating, and endlessly self-sacrificing are not going to celebrate when that changes. They're going to feel inconvenienced. And that's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their expectations. When we set boundaries, we disrupt the unspoken contracts we've had with people. The ones where we've always been the reliable one, the easygoing one, the one who never says no. And when that changes, some people will adjust and some people will resist. I had a friend once who was used to me always saying yes. Yes to last minute plans, yes to favors, yes to rearranging my schedule when it suited them. And the first time I said, I can't do that, the reaction wasn't great. I got the disappointed sigh, oh, I guess I'll just figure it out then. It stung. But in that moment, I had to remind myself, just because someone is disappointed doesn't mean I did something wrong. Discomfort does not equal wrongdoing. And this is where a lot of us struggle, because we think that if our boundary makes someone uncomfortable, we need to fix it. But here's the thing, the only people who get truly angry about your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. The people who respect you, they'll adjust. Maybe not immediately, maybe not perfectly, but they will adjust. And if they don't, then maybe that relationship was built on a version of you that was always saying yes, even when you didn't mean it. I know this is hard. I know that for some of us, boundaries feel like a risk because what if they leave? What if they stop calling? What if they decide we're no longer worth their time? But let's flip that for a second. If someone walks away because you've set a boundary that protects your well-being, were they ever really valuing you, or were they valuing what they could get from you? Boundaries don't push away real connection, they strengthen it. Because real relationships, healthy, grounded, meaningful relationships, are built on mutual respect, not silent resentment. So the next time someone pushes back on your boundary, I want you to take a deep breath and remember, their reaction is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to honor yourself, your energy, and your values. The right people will see that and stay. The wrong ones, let them go. Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away. It's about choosing yourself, your peace, and your values over exhaustion, resentment, and guilt. It's about deciding once and for all that you are just as worthy of your own care as anyone else. Will it be uncomfortable at times? Yes. Will some people resist? Probably. But the more you stand firm in your boundaries, the more you'll realize that the people who truly love and respect you want you to take care of yourself. And the ones who don't, they were never really honoring you in the first place. So as you move forward, remember this, every time you set a boundary, you are teaching yourself that you matter, that your needs are valid, that your time is valuable, and that your well-being is not negotiable. You've got this, and you deserve this. Good luck.